Hello there, Jarod the Dark Jedi here. As all of you are aware, the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild are both on strike. And after some consideration, it has been determined that review content, like what is mostly predominantly makes up a lot of what we produce, is still going to be not considered crossing the picket line. It is still encouraged by the Screen Actors Guild, who established new terms additional to what was being asked to be complied with the WGA. What we do here, the conversations we love to have with a bunch of our friends, to have with you guys, is not possible. The stories we love to talk about, the stories that we love, do not get made without the blood, sweat, tears, creativity, and brilliance of the writers and actors. And currently, the studios who produce the things we love are working these writers and actors to death, not compensating them appropriately, and are trying to replace them with AI. I would think it goes without saying that the Nerd Academy podcast stands staunchly with the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild, and we'll be supporting them from here until the end of these strikes in whatever way that we can. There will be links in each episode description so that you are able to see how you can help, where you can help, how you can donate to different funds to keep food in the belly and roofs over the heads of the writers and actors who are trying to make historic change in Hollywood as we speak. This review, this discussion, this news roundup, whatever the episode may be, was recorded during these strikes, and our love for the works of these writers, of these actors, will continue to be praised and discussed while they fight for their rights. And I want to implore everybody watching and listening to aid in whatever way they can. We stand in solidarity, and we ask that you do too. So, without any further ado, here's the show.
Hello, my friends. It is Aldo, and welcome back to the Knights of the Nerd Republic. You know what to do, and stay profitable.
The Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Hello there, and welcome back to Knights of the Nerd Republic, the show where your favorite nerds talk all things about the galaxy far, far away. And I forgot how much green was on this shirt. Luckily, it's not the one I have on during our review. I was joined by the lovely Scotty Holiday to talk about Star Wars Inquisitor: Rise of the Red Blade by Delilah S. Dawson, and I am very happy with the conversation I had with them. Very excited for you guys to hear it. Couple bits of programming notes. Not quite sure what my schedule is going to look like next week, so don't hold your breath for a whole lot of episodes, but I'm going to try to get them to you. You know that. But yeah, very excited for this review. I'm not going to do a whole lot of fluff up top, but you guys know that this episode is brought to you by our lovely sponsors at sundaysbloodymary.com. They redid the website, and it's looking as beautiful as ever. But you guys know the drill. sundaysbloodymary.com has the most badass Bloody Mary accoutrement in the galaxy. They have their 3-time award-winning, that's the mild mix. Where's the spice at? There it is, that 3-time award-winning spicy Caesar mix, as well as their mild mix and their traditional mix as well. They also have, there's the traditional. They also have their pickled dilly beans, okra, and asparagus. It looks like the dilly beans are sold out currently, as is the asparagus. You guys have been listening to me. You guys know what you're supposed to do. You got to garnish that bad boy if you feeling freaky. And I got all you freaks garnishing your bloodies with that good asparagus. That pickled asparagus fucking slaps. Okay, it's so good. It's so good in a Bloody Mary. And listen, if you get the mix, I'll understand if you get pickled asparagus elsewhere. For now, if you need that, if you haven't tried how good it is to put pickled asparagus in your Bloody Mary, I'll let it slide this one time if you get that pickled asparagus elsewhere. Go to like an Amish run store. That's where you're going to get the good shit, right? But it's just one time. I'll let you do it, but you need to try it and then go back through and put the Sunday's Bloody Mary pickled asparagus in there. Now change your life. Okay? So get on over to sundaysbloodymary.com/shop. Use code TNAP, TNAP at checkout and get 10% off your favorite, or get 10% off your order and help out your favorite nerds while you do it. Pardon me, had a hiccup there, went away. With all that said, thank you guys for watching. I really hope you enjoy the conversation Scotty Holiday and I had about Inquisitor, Rise of the Red Blade. It's great. So without further ado, I will give the floor to past Jarod and Scotty Holiday. And it is time, finally, after a couple days of internet shitting out. So your internet was giving us a hard time yesterday.
Yep.
The day before, my head felt like it was in a vice. And then yesterday, while your internet was going crazy, and we were kind of like, I don't know. It'll we don't know how stable it'll be. We'll just kind of take the L for now and hope things calm down in time for your stream. While that was happening, it was all this as the force wills it to be. My neighborhood lost power.
Oh, great.
So we were without power for like an hour or so, which would have completely fucked us because we were on a very tight timetable before I had to go to work. So everything happened the way it was supposed to, and we are finally here to talk about Star Wars Inquisitor, Rise of the Red Blade. Before we jump into that, however, Scotty, a much nicer Scotty to be talking to as opposed to the one I'm typically stuck with. Tell the lovely people where they can find you and what you do, my friend.
So I guess I'm primarily a YouTuber. I'm supposed to start saying I'm a gamer now because after realizing how many Star Wars games I've played, I guess I'm a YouTuber. I'm a live streamer. I'm a podcaster now. So I've got a lot going on.
You're a person of many hats.
Yeah, pretty much. Who knew this is where I was going to be? I never thought I'd be streaming games online, but here we are. And you can find me everywhere on basically all social media. There's so many now. We keep getting new ones every single day. But everywhere, I'm at Scotty Holiday SW.
Yes, absolutely. If you're not following and watching or listening to Scotty, you are making a grave mistake, and this is the only Scotty whom I will say that about. It's just so easy. It's so easy when you have one Scotty who is a megalomaniacal supervillain and another one who's just cute, fun, and smart and nice to talk to.
Oh my god!
Who isn't pathologically mean to me? That I think that's another plus in the Scotty Holiday category, column.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. You'll never see this. This clip gets a lot of play these days on this podcast. You'll never see Scotty Holiday doing this.
My voice.
Ooh, okay. You might see me do that. Maybe not in that getup, but
which is the nightmare fuel. The Paul Stanley outfit is the nightmare fuel. I am convinced that if I were to walk into the Dark Side Cave on Dagobah or the cave on Crate, that I would be faced by Paul Stanley. Drawing drawing its own version of the dark saber to keep with the Kiss theme.
Oh yeah,
is how we do it, people. Terrifying.
I can't.
Terrifying. Somebody who's an artist, please make that. Please make that. It will end up on merch. It will end up on merch. Me facing Paul Stanley in the dark side cave on Dagobah. But no, I'm super pumped to talk about this book. I was super excited when it was announced. I've made no secret about it. The Inquisitorius, I think, might be my favorite thing about the new Disney era canon for Star Wars. Obviously, like there were Imperial Inquisitors in Legends that kind of popped up from time to time, but there was never a real like shared sense of continuity and centrality in that. Like it just kind of felt like a title that was kind of thrown out there. Like, oh, this Inquisitor Jarek, and it's no different than the Commander what's his fuck. It's like whatever. The Inquisitorius within Disney era Star Wars is so fascinating, and I think is like this like amazing microcosm of like Vader's psyche. Like that you can see so much of the shattered mind of Anakin Skywalker within the Inquisitorius, just how they operate, who they are, what they're willing to do. I think there is a lot of reflection of Vader in that. A lot of my favorite characters in the new canon are Inquisitors, from the Grand Inquisitor to Reva to Trilla Sidari, the second sister. All of them, I think, are deeply fascinating. And again, it does not hurt that they're mostly hanging out with Darth Vader as well, for me at least. Which is gonna be they get you a couple points in my book. Is you end up in a story next to Vader. But yeah, when this story was announced, I was giddy. I was super excited. I didn't know what to expect. And whenever the early reviews kind of started pouring in, I remember seeing Alex Damon, Star Wars Explains video talking about how there was like how it was going to tackle our main character Iskat Akaris, her perspective on the Clone Wars from that was very kind of new. That we've seen like Jedi go, oh, I don't know about this whole fucking war thing. But with Iskat, I don't want to like compare Iskat Akaris to like Pong Krell, but like there is a level of that like we're not doing enough, and that very hardline stance that makes her a bit of a hard ass. And I think that there's a very nuanced approach to critiquing the Jedi in this book, which I very much love. I know there's a lot of people who, I don't mean this in a negative sense. I know a lot of the time we say someone's projecting, it's kind of just like a gotcha or something. Might be. These are all my I work Saturday mornings typically alarms, and it's like, hey asshole, you need to wake up.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I know a lot of people project a lot of their religious trauma onto the Jedi. I know there are a lot of people who kind of put themselves in Ahsoka Tano's shoes and look at the Order as this like governmental religious body that strips people of their individuality and their autonomy. And while I don't agree with those interpretations, like they're still valid. And I do like the fact that we have a piece of Star Wars media that kind of, to steal a phrase that I love that Alden Diaz of Octa Radio came up with for Rogue One and Andor, it kind of like runs up to the fence and shakes it. But it doesn't quite hop over it. But it like runs up to the fence and starts shaking it of the, maybe the Jedi fucking suck. And like it never fully jumps the fence into the other side of the Jedi fucking suck. But it definitely questions like the authority of the Jedi and the Order as a whole. And I appreciated that. As somebody who does typically go to bat for the order in those conversations, in those arguments, I did appreciate the tone and perspective that Red Blade had while critiquing the order, and that's something I want to expand upon when we talk about Iskat's turn to the dark side.
Hmm.
But I've been rambling for a minute, Scotty. I give you the floor.
No, you're all good. I mean, it's funny that you mentioned Star Wars Explains video, kind of talking about the book before it came out, because I was excited about Rise of the Red Blade when it was announced, because, like you said, it was an Inquisitor story, which we haven't gotten as far, at least in book form, we hadn't gotten like a specific Inquisitor story. Well, actually, in any media, because I guess some of the other ones we mentioned, they weren't necessarily the main character.
Yeah, they're
They were,
definitely supporting characters and like really then they're scene stealers and they're
Mhm.
captivating, but like they have never been like the focal point of the story.
Yeah, and what really excited me, speaking of Alex's review of the book, was the fact that it did tell the story of a scat not only through the Clone Wars, but up into her time as an Inquisitor. Because at first I was like, we're just going to get her fall and then her time as an Inquisitor. But I think what really intrigued me the most was the fact that we were going to kind of see all of the inner workings of her mind on what got her from Jedi to Inquisitor, why she fell. And the craziest part about it was that I feel like it was so set in her mind, because she'd been feeling the dark side like basically forever. It seemed these little things that would call out to her. But I'm a little spooky, so I also just like, my spooky dark side stories. And I was really intrigued by the book. It's funny because I did a review of it after I read it, and the weirdest thing was, as I was saying my review at first, I was like, the book was okay. I don't know if I'd read it again. And then as I was kind of talking to the camera more just about the themes, it's almost like I started understanding what the book was really about and what it was trying to say. So I ended up cutting out so much of the review, because I was like, well, I sound like a fucking idiot here, because I don't even like agree with what I said at the beginning of this recording, because I like it started clicking in my head
Yeah,
as I was
you
speaking
were
about it.
making breakthroughs as you were speaking.
I know, and in the review I was like, I don't know if I would read it again, but now I'm like, I kind of feel like I need to read it again, because now I have this new perspective of everything. And once I kind of also took Iskat's story of feeling different and wanting the freedom essentially to be herself, I was like, it's very similar to like the queer experience. I talked about in my review how like I'm in a good place now, but I've been in like dark places in the past. So while it doesn't resonate necessarily with me in my current stage of life, I'm like, oh, but it does resonate to things that I have gone through in life, which is another reason why I'm like, damn, I need to read this book again.
Yeah. I mean, there's very much that subtext of like there is a religious institution that is trying to quote unquote fix you and
Hmm.
make you less that thing they don't like about you.
Hmm.
Which again, and I think the thing that I think is so fascinating and nuanced is that I do think the order is sincerely trying to help her. Like there isn't any malice there.
Yeah.
And that while Iskat does feel slightly smothered, um there that the Jedi aren't wrong. That
Yeah.
like, hey, this is something you really need to like kind of get a handle on. But again, which is rooted in so many stories of Jedi who turn to the dark side, that the child who does not feel the warmth of the village will burn it down to feel that warmth.
Yeah.
That like you have this character who's like, I'm tired of being told what to do. I'm tired of of you trying to repress this part of me. And again, so it's one of the reasons why I love this book, that it is nuanced enough to introduce that subtext
Hmm.
while also still allowing the Jedi to be right. And again, like this whole book, and I even uttering the word gray next to anything Star Wars related, it makes me but like this, but morally, this is there's a lot of moral gray in this book,
Hmm.
which is something
Agreed.
you don't typically see in like the Force user centered stories.
Very
Um
true.
because and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because a lot of the time like that is kind of the point of the Force as a narrative construct, is that, those who walk the path of the light are willing to make personal sacrifices that those who walk the path of the dark side are not, and that the dark side will inevitably make you a vile piece of shit. There is no avoiding that. Once you give yourself over to the dark side, even somebody as seemingly altruistic as a Dooku will become a power hungry fucking narcissistic lunatic.
Yeah.
It's unavoidable. The dark side will corrupt you to your core, and it's, again, like the balls on this book. It makes a lot of really bold choices, and I absolutely love what you're saying with that, with the queer subtext. Also, I think this might be. I know other Star Wars books at this point have been like, and then they fucked. This was steamier than some of that stuff with the stuff between Tuwalin and Iskat. There's a lot of like, hey, I know you want to kill me.
I know. I know.
Like, whoo!
I know. And it was
Not
also
wrong.
the fact that like they were all enriched in the dark side at the time too. So it was like extra fiery.
Yeah, that like it's that like it's that like feral villains fucking
Yes.
dynamic, It's like I've not watched much Buffy, but I've watched all of Angel multiple times.
Okay.
It's like those scenes where you get the flashbacks to his Angelus days.
Oh,
where like everybody is that like evil horny that is just cartoonishly, where like everybody has their vampire faces on and they're like, you want to fuck so I can bite you? Like it felt like that, with a lot more tact. It was.
Oh my god, I love that comparison.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. It was that like Darla and Angel just like practically drooling on each other, because they're just so evil horny.
I just love that I know exactly what you're talking about because I'm also a Buffy stan and I've seen some of Angel. So like this is a great parallel.
Thank you. I hope this makes its way to Chase and Molly as well.
Yes.
But no, and I do think Iskat is with her dynamic with the Order as a whole. I find it fascinating because you brought up the spooky thing. One of the notes I took was that there's a version of this story that is a straight up horror book.
Oh.
There was a version of this story and eventually, and I took a note where it's like, well, it's a horror story now. But it's eventually it kind of starts to feel like one.
Yeah.
But this whole dynamic of Iskat having this like latent force potential. Like, and that's the thing. Like, there are some characters, some Star Wars, Force users, just like, I've always talked about it like this weird bell curve of like, sometimes, like normally you have your Obi-Wan Kenobis who are like, yeah, Force sensitive, and through training and being, studious and dedicated to Jedi philosophy and practice.
Mm-hmm.
He becomes incredibly powerful, but it's not because he like was born like low key a Force god.
Yes.
Juxtaposed to like an Anakin Skywalker, who just is born with this immense potential, or Rey, who just show up like, oh, I'm like incredibly fucking powerful.
They were born that way, baby.
Yeah, they were born that way. Cue the Gaga. But yeah, they were just born that way, and then they become like a fucking force of nature when they start to train and focus that power. Something Anakin never bothers to do. It's that talent versus skill paradigm. Iskat is remarkably powerful, and is put in, and because she accidentally injures her friend in training, is kind of put into a box where that power just kind of lays dormant while she's training in other respects, and is never able to truly like give it her all. And she ends up doing something that I had a conversation with some friends the other night talking about Kylo Ren, and I think this kind of applies to her. Only it's not so much like a lightsaber thing, so much as it's just like her force abilities. About how like baseball players will like do resistance training by like practicing swinging a bat in a swimming pool.
Oh. Okay, makes sense.
Is that like because you're just putting your full force behind it, and that resistance the water is giving you is making
Mhm.
you like is training your muscle memory to go harder with that. That when you're actually at the plate, when you go to do that swing, you're swinging like you're still underwater,
Yeah.
and when you connect, kerpow, you know. Um, is that with Iskat, like she kind of started like doing force training, like she was swinging a baseball bat underwater. And the moment it's like, okay, it's time for you to use the force combatively. It's not
Yeah.
just sensibilities. It's not just low level telepathy. It's not just these very very minor things,
Meditation.
meditations, which it's not just these like low level things that like, oh, this is useful while we're like hunting down artifacts and whatever bullshit. It
Yeah.
is like, okay, it's time to like cut loose a little bit and like give yourself a little bit of slack to throw hands. Now she's just a fucking freight train, you know like she's just this like walking, like spinning razor blade of carnage on Geonosis.
Yeah.
Which uh it's her kind of like letting that out, and that first taste that because she has been so repressed, and the Jedi overcorrected so aggressively, she's now
Mhm.
in this box of every time I draw my lightsaber, I fuck people up.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not like oh yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do. It's I fuck people up. There's no,
Yeah.
and it's just holding her back so much. It just kind of explodes out of that box. And it's just one of those very interesting choices to have her begin this kind of descent in that very I got to protect my friend's way, because it is very Star Wars, but the way it's
Yeah.
framed is like she gets shamed for it in a way I don't see other Star Wars characters typically kind of catch flack for it. Like people will shake their head at her, you know. Like we see Ahsoka get kind of admonished at times for cutting loose in the Clone Wars,
Mhm.
but it's normally like a hey, chill,
Yeah.
move, and then nobody ever talks about it again. The war is over. The Jedi have been genocided across the galaxy, and like the Jedi she runs into are still like, you were fucking crazy on Geonosis.
I know. Like that's the only thing they think of her is just you're that violent girl, like who's
Yeah,
unhinged, who can go crazy at any moment.
yeah, and it's very much that mentality of like, you if you want a monster, I will give you a monster.
Mhm.
And that she gets whittled away at so surgically to bring that those worst elements of herself out, that and it goes to what I think is one of the most fascinating twists about the book is the idea that Sidious handpicked some of the first Inquisitors.
I know. I know. It as soon as he was brought in and it was like, "Can you escort the chancellor to the chambers?" And I was like, "He's going to sprinkle some little like, "Oh, girl, I see you."
And I thought it was just going to be foreshadowing for her becoming an Inquisitor. Because
Yeah.
again, that was one of the notes I took. I was like, the last fucking person Iskatakaris should be left in a room with is Chief Palpatine.
Yes.
This is the last fucking person she needs to be left in a room with. And again, I'm like, oh well, that'll his like this will come back later after she is like Inquisitor pilled, right? Um, and then he's like, and then Order 66 happens, and they're like, yeah, kill the Twi'lek, not her. And I'm like, whoa! Like
Yeah.
I think that is so fascinating. I want to know, like I want more Star Wars Inquisitor books. Like
Yeah.
just because of that, I want to see how everybody got recruited. You know,
for sure.
like
For sure.
especially Grand Inquisitor, especially
Yeah.
Grand Inquisitor. I think, Delilah Dawson has said in both her interviews on Star Wars Explained and on Octo Radio that there's like stuff she had to leave on the cutting room floor
Yeah.
because Lucasfilm was like, we have plans for that. Please don't put anything in the book about that. And I am just hoping and praying that like there is a book or a comic or something. I don't fucking like an Adobe Flash game. I don't give a damn about the Grand Inquisitor because I want to know so much more about him.
Mhm.
And I'm very curious like what this recruitment process was like. That Sidious was like, just by chance going, oh yeah, you don't like this either.
Yeah.
Jot your name down real quick and
He
put
was
you on
just
the list
testing
of,
the waters with people. He was like, "Oh, I see you. Oh, you're mad at the council?" And he like makes a mental note. He
yeah.
probably goes back to his office and he's like, "Iscat Akaris,
Yeah.
Inquisitor of possibilities."
yeah, maybe question mark. There's that, and there's also like there's this fun moment where if you've read Star Wars Brotherhood, you get another character who is in the room's perspective on like that en masse knighting ceremony,
Mhm.
right? And as cool and enraptured by that as I wanted to be, because I loved Star Wars Brotherhood. I think it might be a top 5 Star Wars novel for me. I could not get over the fact that like Anakin Skywalker and Iskat Akaris were in the same room, and we as the reader know,
Right.
you
Yeah.
two are gonna have a lot more in common than you wish you did.
I know.
And it is so tragic. It is so foreboding having them just stand in the same room together.
I mean, yeah, and it's funny because for me, I don't know what it is. I feel like both of their falls are similar, but also vastly different in a sense. I don't know if you feel that way, but the whole time I was reading the book, I was like, I don't know. It was just like, I was like, it's like Anakin, but she's also so much different than Anakin in a sense.
I think the thing that like really fuses their falls together for me, and I took multiple notes about this as well, and it's something that, stop talking to me, robot. It's so, and and granted, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. But like my fascination with like the radical online right and like the process of radicalization in particular is that like I'm watching two different flavors of the same approach to radicalizing a youth happen. Where it is that like, oh, the institutions around you have failed you. You're alone, you're isolated, you're angry at authority. You don't quite know what to do with those feelings. Well, then do I have the ideology for you?
Yeah.
Where like again, you're watching it in the same way that like Anakin is this poster child for like isolated privileged white men who lose their fucking minds. Where it's like where it's like you have like legitimate feelings of isolation and don't know how to make that coexist with the privilege you've lived your life having, with the privilege that people around you have told you have, and you have like legitimate trauma and you have in legitimate ways been oppressed, but you still have like, but you still live with an amount of privilege that others don't. And how that type of person could just have their brain melted by the right piece of shit fascist whispering in their ear.
Yeah.
Iskat Akaris is more in that realm of, the institutions around you are failing you. And you're being told something that you just to your core don't agree with by the people in power. Well, what if I told you all of the, it's very, Pleasure Island, like fucking Pinocchio shit.
Oh my God.
Where it's like, do you just want to do exclusively the thing you've been told not to do?
Yeah.
Do you exclusively just want to do what you were told not to do? Come on down to Nerd. And that, but that's that's kind of the sales pitch, like for Anakin it is you're isolated, nobody will listen to you, but at its core it's still that this institution has failed you. Let me offer you a worldview that not only will let you strike back at that institution that scorned you, but will also give you all of the freedom you've ever wanted from it.
Yeah, and it's crazy too because
it's 4chan shit.
That's true, but it's like they had these. It was basically in this book. It was you're thinking of certain things, you need to repress those emotions and meditate on them. It's almost like a pray the gay away situation where it's like meditate the dark side away. But it's like these specific tools that you're giving people, they don't work for everybody.
Yeah,
and we saw that with Anakin. We see that with the Scat. It's like they needed a personalized experience, and as we've kind of already talked about, they had no outlet to put these feelings and these emotions anywhere. It was
the moment they do, they come unglued.
Yeah,
you have two Jedi who, when those lightsabers turn on, are liable to turn into like violent sociopaths.
Oh yeah,
again, like Anakin Skywalker's violent tendencies are well documented at this point.
Oh yes.
And the way that like Iskat just kind of like very privately is like, I love killing.
Yeah, she's like, it's the only thing I'm good at. It's
what
I'm best at.
Yeah, and it is and it is so deeply tragic that you have somebody who just was not helped. That she's like, she is just, again, a talented swords being, a talented fencer.
Yeah.
Who just, nobody takes her aside to help her hone that. There is this dedication to like, oh, well, she had this outburst, so now what we need to do is overcorrect it to the point where she's just fucking Jocasta new.
Oh god.
That is the only way to fix her brain. And speaking of Jocasta, the fuck is up with her? Like that was, that very like particular level of petty bitchiness.
I know. As soon as she's like, oh, you don't want to work in the library? Well, never mind. Don't speak to me again.
Yeah.
Essentially.
So un-Jedi-like and just so deeply disappointing, where it's like, y'all are better than this, like
she is snooty.
Like Iskat's summation, like the perspective we get on Mace Windu is one thing. Cause like he's a stuffy taskmaster of a leader. I make no bones about it. I think Jedi Master Mace Windu is one of the greatest the Order has ever seen. I put him very high on a pedestal. But I can also understand that if you're like 15, 16, 17, and you've spent your entire life being told you're basically bad at being a Jedi, why you may not fuck with Mace Windu.
Yeah, because Mace Windu don't fuck with you either.
Yeah, like I get it. I understand why just maybe Iskat Akaris does not like Mace Windu. And maybe Mace Windu has a propensity, and I'm not saying again that like Iskat being driven away from the Jedi, being driven to the dark side, is justifiable. That Mace Windu at this point is batting 1,000 for like vibe checking Jedi and going, something ain't right here. Now, part of that something ain't right is the institution you're a part of, and the kind of organizational decay that is at play in the Clone War era. But yeah, Mace knows what the fuck he's talking about.
Well, the decay is apparent just in the fact that Iskat's like, I'm going to put on the act and do everything they tell me to do just so I can go on a mission. It's like they should have seen through that, but they're so focused on the war and being generals. And it's like,
well, it's that quote for the Revenge of the Sith novel, that whole like, the Clone War was the greatest Jedi trap because no matter what they did, they would lose.
Yeah, for sure.
And that like if you despite all efforts from the Separatists and Palpatine from on high, like just straight up win the war, Order 66 happens.
Yeah.
And if the Separatists themselves win the war, so many Jedi have died at this point. Do you even need to fucking do Order 66? Like there's no outcome short of them putting together the plot, which they come so close to every time, but then
Oh
it
my
falls
god, I
apart.
know. I
It like
know.
it is the perfect Jedi trap. So and it fast tracks that institutional rot that lets people like Iskat and Anakin slip through the cracks.
Mm-hmm. Because they're like they're good at what they do. Like when they're on the battlefield, they're great. They get the job done, but they're not doing it in the way that they're supposed to. It's
Yeah.
their only that becomes their outlet.
Yeah. It becomes like therapy by way of combat. And I would even like slightly push back on like the way they're supposed to. It's just that like the that they're from a young age they are like kind of kept at arm's length and told that like what they're like they're doing Jedi stuff wrong for so long that they try their best to like construct this like simulacrum of what a Jedi is supposed to be. And that by the time that they're old enough for them to have considerable agency, they have given up on the idea of actually doing right by the order and doing right by themselves. That like now you're actively making horrible decisions. And that's another thing that I love is that like Iskat, like the book does not make excuses for Iskat. It is very much like you see how we got here,
Mm-hmm.
but she also makes choices that
Yeah.
make her vile. Like Delilah Dawson brings up like what she does with Ethkoth's daughter.
Oh yeah.
That
That
like
was I was like, girl, that was a choice.
yeah,
A
well,
mean ass choice.
and for me, like I have not as much I've wanted to, and I've never gotten around to doing it. I've never gotten pardon me, I've never gotten a chance to sit down and read the Charles Soule Vader stuff.
Neither have I. It's okay.
Like I know, like I know the broad strokes, I know the moment stuff. I know that like he fights and kills Koth, and like I know that Iskat shows up in this.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like I knew he fought and killed Koth, and I
Yeah.
remember that Koth's child is involved in some way. I didn't know about the scene that is straight up ripped from the comic.
Yeah.
Like down to like the dialogue
Yeah.
of Iskat kidnapping baby Koth. But like
Well,
it is reprehensible, and it's juxtaposed with this moment in the book that it comes right after, because it's the epilogue, that the book's ending is her kind of like having a showdown with these two personifications of the order and how it failed her.
yeah.
Which again puts us as the reader in this weird place, because we've grown so attached to Iskat that
Mm-hmm.
we're like almost rooting for her to like force choke this mean girl to death.
I know that girl. Oh, she got under my skin. I didn't like her at all.
And you want to see her out fence the man who taught her to fight with two blades. Like it's intense, and it puts the reader in a really weird position, and I think it was very bold, and I loved it.
I mean, you mentioned, and you're saying you were rooting for her to outfence him. Is that correct?
I mean, I kind of ended up at that point. Yeah, like I was really conflicted in that scene, because like as somebody who's like been following Iskat, I'm like, okay, like this is your moment to really throw some ass here and kick this guy's teeth in. I was like, I wanted to see her kick some ass. And by the same token, I'm like, and I can't remember the Jedi Master's name off the top of my head.
Was it Master Ume?
I think that's right. That sounds right. Is that like he's trying, but I also like, I'm the part of me is like, Iskat, like you can stop this. Like you can.
That was me.
You can stop. And I was
that
like,
was me the whole time.
And I was like, you can stop. But every time Ume opens his mouth, and she says it's these fucking platitudes.
Yeah.
It's never an admission of wrongdoing. It's never a moment where he goes, hey, we failed you. we failed you, and because the stakes
Oh,
are so high, when training a Force sensitive, that when we as teachers fuck up, the end result can be a Jedi hunter.
yeah.
We fucked up. We did wrong by you.
I didn't even think of the fact if he would have said, like, we failed you, she probably would have broken down in that moment. She probably would have fell to her knees and cried.
Yeah, we
I
failed
probably
you.
would have.
We failed you. We failed your mother. We fucked up. And so many like and it's something that like will stretch all the way out to the sequel trilogy. You know, people love to be like, oh, Luke's Jedi Order fell apart at the seams. Yeah, you know why? Because the people he learned from were like two paragons of the Order during the Clone Wars who never truly understood why things fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Obi-Wan or Yoda ever kind of took the time to go, we failed.
No,
We
because
as an order fell apart at the seams. And it doesn't justify, I know there's a lot of people like to go, oh, like the Jedi Order reached a fail state and that's why they got annihilated. No, like those two things, they're related to each other, but it's not a directly causal thing.
mm-hmm.
The villains just took advantage of the fact that the Order was disintegrating. Once we get to The Last Jedi, we see Luke Skywalker, who's like, oh my God, like the Order is to blame in many ways for Vader. Not solely, not entirely. It does not take the blame off of Anakin or the Emperor.
Yeah.
But like the rot in the core of the Jedi at that time lends itself to the creation of Darth Vader. And I'm just sitting there like, Ume, just take the L. Fall on your sword. Own what happened. Stop making it about Iskat's personal failure, because yes, she made decisions. She chose a lot of what is happening now. Yes, it was choices made by the people who were like charged with like carrying her through her life.
Well, they didn't help her.
Exactly.
They didn't help her, so of course she was frustrated. And when she gets to the point to like basically go back at them, honestly, I don't condone violence, but I would probably be in the same boat if I was a Jedi, because like I said, I've dealt with dark shit in my life, and if not given the resources to deal with it, I would not be the person that I am currently. And that's the thing, she wasn't given the resources. And it was like you said earlier, here's this other thing that you can be, where you get to do all the things you were told that you are not allowed to do. Of course you're going to choose that. And like the whole time, and I said this in my review, I was just like, damn, I just want to give a Scat a hug and be like, girl, you're valid.
Yeah.
I see you. Like, it is okay. But no, she didn't get any of that. And that's why she ended up the way she ended up.
Yeah, no one was able to talk her off a ledge. And, I think that the thing that I love about how this book tackles the dark side and tackles the Inquisitorius is that a lesser writer would have let Iskat turn to the dark side and it'd be like, I love being evil. Like she just would have turned into like Carnage, where like it's just like, I love being evil and being evil makes me happy. And or I already made a joke about a symbiote. Or like fucking Eddie in Spider-Man 3. Like or it's like, I like being mean, it makes me happy, or whatever like silly line he has before he kills Harry Osborn. That like a lesser writer would have let it just be that. And to quote S. Dawson, you've traded one boss for another. You've traded one, dynamic that is like deeply repressive for another. That you get to live out your most violent, wantonly destructive fantasies, sure. That compassion, that camaraderie you did have with the Jedi, that is a cardinal sin here.
Yeah.
You all serve the Emperor, you all serve Vader, and those are the only people you fucking care about, and the Grand Inquisitor.
And it's just like, as she walks around the halls of the Inquisitorius headquarters, she even mentions like, this person sucks, they don't want to talk to me, I'm looking around and wishing I could just say hi to people, and it's like nobody wants to talk to each other. The only thing they want to do is fight each other in the pit and like come out on top. And that's really sad too. It's like you said, she gets to live out her violent fantasies, but it's like she loses the human connection.
Yeah.
Which, even though she still struggled with that during her time in the Jedi, she still had, Toulon. She had one person she could be close to.
And even if when the Jedi dropped the ball, like, again, they still cared about her. Like, I think that at its core, like, the path to hell is paved with good intentions. Maybe Mace Windu was mean to her, as people are off to complain about. Well, like maybe Windu was a bit abrasive. Maybe her master was a little bit distant. Like again, maybe. But at the end of the day, they fucking cared about her, they wanted to do right by her. They didn't realize they were fucking up because they were all just so dedicated to like managing appearances for the Order. But like, they wanted to help her, and in a time where I think that, again, in this like very Pollyanna, the Jedi figure out the Emperor's conspiracy and whatever, that like Iskat Akaris, after things calm down, is kind of taken aside and it's like, hey, we need to help you. In the same way that I'm sure Anakin, after getting chewed out for the whole "I've been married this whole time" thing, gets some type of, okay, we just dodged a bullet here. Maybe we need to reevaluate some things.
Yeah.
I would like to think in that other world, Iskat got a little bit more of a hands-on helping. But they wanted to help her. Whereas the Inquisitorius is just like, hey, we're going to take the worst parts of you and just make it who you are. Iskat, lives this life of the only thing I'm good at is fighting and killing. Trilla lives this life of, I was scorned, I was abandoned, and therefore nobody in this galaxy is decent. And I will drive my blade through the heart of the very idea of anybody acting with any ounce of altruism. Ninth Sister has this whole life is pain outlook.
Yeah.
It is just the Inquisitorius taking the worst of these people and blowing it up to 1,000 and making it only who they are.
I mean, you talked about radicalization earlier, and that's pretty much exactly what that is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, fuck, look at how Vader jumps them in. Like that, that's my thoughts on that whole segment. That's all I'm going to say. I love, again, like it just makes it feel like this like horrifying mix of a right-wing militia and a cult. Let's just like a cult of like, it's like, Vader, like, okay, you got to get jumped in now. Try to kill me. Try to kill me. Try to kill me. And then you're like, oh, that's why almost everybody in the Inquisitorius is walking around with some type of prosthesis. Because Vader was like, you don't know, like, because this is the best way to dehumanize you, is to quite literally replace parts of you with machinery. Because that's what they did to me. That's what they did to me. I'm not a person anymore. I'm all metal. You hear me when I breathe. I sound like a machine. I'm going to make you part machine to strip you of your humanity, to make you a killing machine just like me.
Yeah,
that is so deeply fucked up.
They prey on their trauma.
Yeah. And create more of it as in the most like personalized way they possibly can.
Oh,
and I'm like, hey, Iskat, good job, like, not straight up losing the fight to Vader. He crushes your arm, but at least you didn't need a new one.
Yeah, but one of the weirdest things too about Iskat and talking about to her time in the Inquisitorius and kind of like getting into it is the fact that it's almost like she's also still fighting to fight and hold on to who she was. At least that's how I took it with the whole name thing, where she was like, I haven't accepted my name yet. Like, I'm an Inquisitor, cool, I went on my mission, but I haven't accepted my name yet. And it was like she was being torn too when she realized it. Yes, she got to live out her violent fantasies, but she was like, but I'm not really have any friends anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to just kill people and hunt. Like, there's more to life than that. It's like, girl, unfortunately, this is the choice that you made because people failed you, so you felt like this was the best option. And something I even said is, it's like, and like Delilah Dawson said, with you traded one boss for another, it's not like she necessarily got the freedom that she wanted while she was in the Jedi. She didn't really get it when she was in the Inquisitorius. She got to go visit her family, which I loved that whole segment.
Oh yeah.
And how she kind of became a different person almost while she was around them, and kind of got back to who she really was at her core, that she'd kind of lost as she had given into like the dark side essentially. And it was weird seeing those kind of shifts, between her humanity and just her like vile evil. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think like another part of it is that, once the emperor was like, "Oh, okay. Iskat Akaris."
The red skin
Is that
girl.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Redskin girl with a funky hair. It, like, on top of, again, people failed you, so you're going to be primed to be, taken advantage of and manipulated. There's also this element of him like employing that one technician that he then sends in to like and start picking apart at her for me, please. Like
Yeah.
that, something like that. Like that is like, again, like she didn't, like, as much as she made the choice, she also was like being primed for it and being, groomed to do it. By the actual bad people. Crazy how that
Imagine
word
that.
means fucking nothing anymore. Um, it's almost like it's wild projection from certain people. Anyway, there that you see her like, and again, to make a Legends connection, like there is very much that when she killed, I can't remember the droid technician's name now.
Hizu.
Hezo sounds right. I think that's how they said it in the audiobook. Whenever she kills Hezo, there's this like, it felt like when Darth Malgus killed his lover in Legends, where it was that like, the last part of me that isn't fully entrenched in the dark side is the part of me that loves you. Which like you can unpack all of that at your own leisure. But like that whole idea of her learning the worst lesson, I think the most important lesson about being an Inquisitor was that inability to trust anyone.
Yeah.
And that when she may not have like been like permanently mutilated by Vader, but she had her ability to truly trust and engage with somebody permanently just gored
Yeah.
by learning that he had the entire time been a mole for the Emperor and then killing him.
I mean, he unfortunately was her only outlet. He
Yeah.
was the only person that she felt like she could go to, which is sad that was who she felt like she could go to. Basically, someone who was a failed Jedi. You know what I mean? That just sucked. And then, yeah. And then finding out that he was somebody who was there to only coax her further to be disillusioned and turn her basically to the dark side to become an Inquisitor. I probably would have been pissed too. And I probably would have been like, hey, asshole, remember all that bullshit that you did when I thought you were trying to be nice to me and you were just doing it to groom me? Fuck you. Goodbye.
Yeah. I mean, and again, like it is one of those moments. It's like I can totally understand why you did this, but like, damn,
Yeah.
you can just see that it is everything. That like it was what they wanted to happen to her, and it
Yeah.
is so unfortunate. That characters who turn to the dark side like this, it happens. Like a Vader or a Kylo Ren, it is this mix of the people around me failed me and it primed me to be taken advantage of.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what
by
it is. They're taken advantage of. They're
and
hurt.
it's never not tragic. I will never not be heartbroken for these characters. Like a Malgus, a Darth Bane. Like they're forces of nature. They are people who believe in the cause. Anakin Skywalker, Iskat Akaris, Ben Solo. They felt like they had nowhere to go. It does again. They had agency. They made those decisions and can't like you. I don't think it is reasonable to wash away the decisions they made.
Mm-hmm.
But like those decisions weren't made in a vacuum, and they didn't get there accidentally or by their own volition fully.
Yeah. I mean,
It is
they
so
were
tragic.
they were done dirty by the institutions that were supposed to be there to help them become the
Yes.
best versions. Well, I mean, I don't even know if you could say the Jedi were making the Jedi the best versions of themselves that they could be, but like that's what these people needed.
Yeah, I mean, they were resting on their laurels of the High Republic. That's my big thing. I know a friend of the show, Eli from Star Wars in a Galaxy, who
Mm.
has a question for the Q&A segment. He and I always get into it over this, but people love to put all this blame at Mace Windu's feet. I moved that a half an inch to the left to Yoda's feet. I think that in Yoda, you have somebody who the buck stops with you as the Grand Master, first of all. But I think Yoda rested on the laurels of, no matter what happens in Phase 3 of the High Republic, like we know the Jedi Order is not defeated.
Mm-hmm.
The Jedi Order is still standing and that the Republic and the Order are like this now. Like it's not just, hey, shit's getting crazy, could you help us? It is not that there is like a part of the Republic that is dedicated to like aiding the Jedi and the Jedi aiding like there's not this like humanitarian wing that is designed to do whatever. You are like our military police force now.
Yeah.
And whatever happens by the end of Phase 3 of the High Republic, like Yoda, it gets to rest on his laurels of going, we defeated the Nile, we are still standing, the Republic is stronger than it's ever been, the Order is stronger than it's ever been, and we did it, and are just going to coast on that for a couple hundred years. And it's that greatest generation, very 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 like the history is over mentality
Yeah.
from the 90s. We've beaten history, no more history will ever happen again. That is the mentality I think a lot of the Jedi of that era had, and a lot of it I think came down from on high,
Well,
from Yoda.
the galaxy changed around them, but they did
Yeah.
not change. And it's kind of like, old people get stuck in their ways. Yoda is like 800 years old at this point, or
Yeah.
900,
He's
whatever.
pushing 900. Yeah.
So he's definitely stuck in his ways, along with the fact that the galaxy changed, but the Jedi did not. They didn't change to be in the world that they were now in.
I would even go so far as to say that the Jedi changed in the opposite direction.
Oh,
I would
okay.
go so far as to say is that like I think that something happened when they became fully incorporated into the Galactic Republic, that like you lost that chivalric knight hero to save the day. Like something was lost between the High Republic and the prequel era. I can't quantify it. I cannot quantify it. I cannot put my finger on it. I know it when I see it. I know it when I'm reading a High Republic book. Like that thing that the Jedi don't have in the prequels as much. Something changed there, and it was on Yoda's watch. And again, that does not mean Yoda or the Jedi are responsible for their own extermination. I hate that interpretation. I think it is. I think it is, frankly, a little harmful to put the entire burden on them. But it is institutional rot that was the primary vehicle for their annihilation. That Palpatine saw and took advantage of. And
Yeah.
that's how we end up with tragedies like that of his Catakaris.
Rip.
But rip indeed. Scotty, do you have any other thoughts before we jump into some questions here?
I think my final thought in general with the book is it was just sad that, we didn't talk anything about Scott's mother or anything in that part of the story.
That's true, yeah.
And the only thing I want to say about that is it's so sad in the fact that even in Scott's master's death, she was like, Scott's just like you, talking to Scott's mother, Feyre. And then it's almost like Scott kind of had a similar fate because the Jedi failed her like they failed her mother.
Yeah.
Oof. But her mom, she also needed a big hug.
She also, yes, very much so. And like that, oh man, I think that one of the most upsetting parts with her mother is that, like, could the Jedi have done more? Perhaps. I think there also is very much a situation of, like, I'm not going to say beyond saving. I don't mean it like that, but that, like, there's a level of, like, she was dealing with things and dealing with problems that were, like, beyond just being a Jedi.
Yeah, for sure.
And and that, like, yeah, like anybody being in the room to help her would have helped. Mm-hmm. Period. But, like, Iskat has nobody, has nothing else but hatred for the Jedi, that the death of her mother is 100% at their feet. That is just, like, even that it's like, even like Iskat loses the clarity of vision to see that, like, this is not their fault.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but how do you look a child in the eye and tell them that?
Yeah.
Especially with how incensed they are. But yeah. That warning at the beginning of the episode got me, or at the beginning of the book got me good.
Did you cry? Because I cried after I read it.
Yeah, I cried after I heard it. Because I did the audiobook. So I was like, okay. That took me aback. But if we are ready, we're going to hop into the Q&A segment here.
Hell yeah.
First one from the lesser Scotty. His tweet reads, "Good morning, princess," which has, watch Bombadcast for context on that. Do you think they will utilize Rupert Friend as the Grand Inquisitor in other live-action Star Wars projects? I fucking hope so. I loved him in Kenobi. I don't want to say he was underutilized. I do think there could have been some more Grand Inquisitor. I would have liked to have seen Obi-Wan and Quizzy square up with each other.
Yeah, for sure.
But Rupert Friend just brought that role to life. I absolutely love his Grand Inquisitor. And it's funny because, like, there's Rupert Friend does an amazing job as a Grand Inquisitor, and then there is Rupert Friend, like, is so, I don't know if it was intentionally funny or not, as the Grand Inquisitor as well.
Hello.
Hello, third sister. This is just fucking hysterical. Especially coming off of Vader just piecing her up like nothing.
Yeah. It was hilarious.
It's like oh, you're freaking out. It's such a crazy moment for Reva and Vader are like, oh my god, and then he just like, hello. And then the face he makes in the finale.
Yeah.
Just iconic. I want more Rupert Friend for both the memes and because I do sincerely love him as the Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed him a lot too. Once I got over the fact that he looked kind of like volleyball, I was like, this performance is fun, and I like it, and I'd like to see it again. We've already talked about we want more Inquisitor stories, and I would have loved to see Obi-Wan duel an Inquisitor to begin with, but that's a whole nother point.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see him again in something, and I think he would do well. I think he would only do better. Because he's already stepped into the role. He kind of found who that character is. Let him go further with it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I agree with you completely. I think the longer you give Rupert Friend to ruminate with that character, the more he's going to bring to it, which
Mhm.
excites me. Question from Michael McCoy of All Remaining Systems. Skip ahead a little bit, perhaps. This is going to be a spoiler for Ionized Bastards, a Star Wars RPG show, the one I'm always talking about and plugging. So I guess spoiler to give Michael's question some context. Fabian Martell is revealed in episode 4 of Ionized Bastards to be an ex-Inquisitor. One who is on the run, who the early days of his time as an Inquisitor was kind of like unclear to me, other than how he got captured by the Empire. Michael asks, how did this book influence your thoughts on the story of Fabian Martell, and what headcanons about the Inquisitorius changed for you? For me, and I mean, the second part, Scotty, goes for you as well.
Mhm.
For Fabian, I kind of decided retroactively that Fabian probably has a cybernetic arm. Because he probably, in the jumping in process with Vader. I also don't think that Fabian was handpicked by the Emperor. I think I've I talked about this like off air to Michael. Fabian, and it's kind of a byproduct of the fact that right after our first episode was recorded of Ionized Bastards, Fabian, because I talk about like Fabian's lightsaber hilt, and I was trying to tease it as clearly being half of an Inquisitor lightsaber, but that he modified like the weird like half ring thing to kind of
Mhm.
be like a basket hilt and like a
Okay.
handguard.
Mhm.
And I described that. A few weeks later, Ionized Bastards comes out, the first episode, and then the next day we get the cover art for the first 2 issues of The Blade.
Yeah.
And I'm like, motherfucker, Porter Engle has Fabian Martell's lightsaber. So I like started retroactively kind of like in my head and like have notes on this for Fabian for season 2 of Bastards when we start recording it. Is that like Fabian kind of looked up to Porter Engle and saw Porter
Ooh.
Engle as this like paragon of like what a Jedi protector is supposed to be. And because of that, like took up form too, in the same way that like Dooku was like this just feels like my heritage as a Jedi taking up form too feels right.
Mhm.
Fabian kind of did the same thing because he like wanted to be like Porter Engle. And that after his escape, for lack of a better term, from the Inquisitorius, he redesigned his lightsaber to kind of pay homage to Porter. But no, I don't think he was hand selected by the Emperor. I think he was very much in the Trilla camp, or the Tuwalan camp of they were like, oh hey, we caught a Jedi. This one isn't dead. Let's break him.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think Fabian was like successfully broken. I think he lost one of his arms whenever he was like, "Hey, kill me," from Vader, and I think his standoffishness and his kind of like violent impulses earlier in Bastards is a byproduct of his time with the Inquisitorius. It's not just a trauma response. It's not just him being like kind of a hard ass. And the fact that when we started Ionized Bastards, Fabian was, but not to make this whole back half of the podcast about fucking Ionized Bastards. The thing that was funny, and again, I cannot credit Michael enough for it, and it's why I think it's why I always tell people I really hope our loyal TNAP listeners and viewers check out Ionized Bastards, is because when Michael and I started creating Fabian, the joke was Green Goblin with a lightsaber. The joke was he's a violent fucking sociopath. And I was like, my whole idea was he was going to be like this this parody and pastiche of, you know, like dude bro self inserts, and you know, he was just going to be over the top, you know, and I was like, he's an ex-Inquisitor because it's like as close as I can get to Star Killer, and you know, but I'm like, but even though he's this like over the top self insert, he's gay. Like it was just like I was just like trying to like. I was like, oh yeah, it's gonna be so like it's gay. He's going to be badass to a silly degree. Pardon me. And Michael we all collaboratively, but Michael especially ended up creating like a very, very Star Warsy story where about 3 episodes in, I was like, I think Fabian wants to be a good person. You know, where like you live in the character for a little bit, and I'm like, he's not Green Goblin with a lightsaber. He wants to be a hero.
He's a sweet boy.
He wants to be a hero. He wants to be heroic. And he started to change as a character, and you know, the whole he was an ex-Inquisitor thing went from cool set dressing that I wanted to see if it would be revealed naturally or not, became like, this is why he is the way he is. Like he lost everybody, and then he found a group of Jedi that he became attached to and was able to hide out with. They were killed in front of him, you know, in what felt like senseless and random violence. He gets broken into the Inquisitors, you know, tries to be a decent man one time within that apparatus, is nearly killed for it, and then becomes this like, you know, mercenary prize fighter piece of shit. Watch Ionized Bastards. It's my favorite Star Wars story.
Obviously, I need to after this because I'm kind of getting into the story the more you talk about it. I don't remember what our question was, but
the question was, how does this book influence your thoughts and story of Fabian? And I do recommend it because not only do you get like all of that drama with Fabian, you then get Dan Miller of Broaxium playing a kleptomaniac vagrant cyborg Gungan named Zuzo Yort.
I miss the Gungans.
You get Jerry, the canon junkie of the Bombad cast, playing a teddy bear trapped in the body of an HK assassin droid.
Oh, I love Jerry.
And you get the arguably everybody's favorite character from Ionized Bastards, Alden Diaz of Octo Radio, playing a character named Thabor Sheems, who is basically Saul Goodman if he was an Ithorian.
I love this.
Hammerhead Saul Goodman. It's great. But anyway, go watch Ionized Bastards. The back half of the question is, what headcanons about the Inquisitorius changed for you, which I will give you the floor on because I have not shut the fuck up about Ionized Bastards for like 30 minutes now.
I guess just more of the thing with the Inquisitorius was I felt like they were people who most of them chose this, where I mean, yes, was the Scat given a choice, as we learned? Yeah, she was given a choice. But like we talked about, she was kind of groomed for this choice.
Yeah.
And the way that I took it was more, or the way like in my head was more, these people, like they chose, they wanted to be, they were angry with the Jedi already just because they became disillusioned with the Order because the Order lost their way, whatever. But now I've realized it's more of a, they weren't given what they needed. Most of them weren't given what they needed. So the ones that did choose to be a part of the Inquisitorius, like they only did it because they weren't given the tools that they needed to really succeed. And they just preyed upon their trauma and their hurt, which like, yeah, I guess like, I know not all the Inquisitors were like that, but I guess I thought more of them were, and more of them it was more of a choice rather than like this backhanded choice or something presented as a choice when it was really, we're just preying upon like your hurt.
I'm very curious, like again, I want Star Wars Inquisitor to become like a mini franchise.
Give us a game.
Like fucking hey, give us a game. I'll happily just take another book. But if you want to give us a game, I'll take a game.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take both, but
yeah, I'll happily, yes. Why not both?
a tie-in book.
A tie-in book for the game. I've always wondered, like, because the Clone Wars sets up the Citadel, which is like this, almost like
The
very,
Jedi prison.
very, very Azkaban for Jedi who lose their shit, right?
Yeah.
And I've always wondered, like, how many Jedi got plucked out of the Citadel for the Inquisitorians?
Ooh,
like somebody like Seventh Sister, like, and I'm not one to make Harry Potter comparisons these days, obviously, but like you could very much just make her into dark, like Star Wars' Bellatrix Lestrange. Like, it would not be difficult to just be like, yeah, she was batshit crazy, and and the Jedi put her in crazy fucking Jedi jail, and then the Emperor was like, I want everybody who's there.
He's like, ooh, them. I want them.
I
They're the
want
ones.
these crazy fucks. I want these fucking Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
I think Seventh Sister could probably be a decent candidate there. I think you could make an argument for Ninth Sister, who like
Fifth brother.
Maybe Fifth Brother. Part of me just really likes the idea that Fifth Brother was like a good Jedi who just got shattered. I don't know why.
Now he's just grumpy.
And now he's just this grumpy like shithead. I mean, Prosset Dibs, we know, gets arrested. So like he's at least we dimes to donuts, at least one of the Inquisitors is definitely plucked from the Citadel.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure there weren't that many people in the Citadel to begin with. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, there's that one. Oh,
and I will say, just because this is my new thing, I've decided that I want Sarah Michelle Gellar to play her Inquisitor in live action. That's what
I'm
I want
down
now.
for that.
That's what I want now. And she could do it.
She could totally do it. Don't get me started.
I was going to say, you mentioned Buffy earlier, so it's like,
bringing around town. Listen, Alden and I are trying to will into existence David Boreanaz playing Batman in the new DC CU.
That would be interesting.
He literally, it's the same fucking character. Like, it's like grown up Angel, like Angel in his own show by like season 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Is just Batman.
I think it could work.
I'm just saying. So Eli from Star Wars in a Galaxy and our commissioner over at Epic Confrontations asks, if the goons were Sith Lords, what would their Darth names be? Because Eli is insistent on us exposing the membership of our group chat. So as he did this with the last episode of KNR. Now, I am not a talented enough writer to come up with like 7 odd Darth names. So what I am going to do for you, I'm going to give you Sith Lords, pre-existing Sith Lords.
Okay.
Scotty Jarod, Darth Plagueis. He's a scientist at his core. Scotty's a science teacher. I think there is a philosophical fascination with just the concept of what can you do with the Force. I think that fits Scotty in that way. Alden Diaz is Exar Kun, based sheerly on ego. I love him. But no, Alden is the Exar Kun there.
Much love for Alden.
Much love for Alden. Speaking of Exar Kun, I see Jerry as like an Ulit Keldroma. I think Jerry could at best have like a 6-month stint as a Sith before going, yeah, this isn't for me. Bill Sheehy. Sheehy's got that Dooku in him. I think I see Bill as like, path to hell is paved with good intentions. Trey Mitchell is the Emperor. That is just wanton carnage. just he's a bad man. I'm trying to think.
I need to talk to y'all more. I want a comparison.
Connor. Connor.
Oh gosh.
I want to just say Inquisitor Jarod from Legends because he's blind.
Not Inquisitor Jarod.
Yeah, you're getting Jarod because no eyes. Or you know what? No, you're a gender bent Treya. Because Connor does this thing where he will get like abruptly angry at the concept of religion, which is just really funny. Like
that's very Treya though.
It's very Treya. It's like I literally want to destroy the Force. So Connor Shakiti is a gender bent Darth Treya. So me. I mean, I'll be vain and say Vader.
Think about your worst qualities and who they relate to.
Yeah, that's going to be like a Vader or a Kylo. There's very much that like it's very much that kind of like, no, I did always as a kid, I was, especially in my teen years, it's like an angsty, edgy little baby. Kylo. Yeah. I was very much listen, I ran with a group of theater kids that that lionized and put on a pedestal everybody in my friend group except for me.
Oh, maybe we should unpack that.
And I developed a complex because of it. There is no two ways about that.
Oh, that does feel very, very Anakin.
Yeah. So
they're holding me back.
You're holding, yeah. There was very much that there was some resentment there, and all that is like water under the bridge and has been talked about as fucking adults. But yeah, no, that very, that please notice me, please, validate me, mindset, I think is the kind of thing that like leads to the creation of both Vader and Kylo Ren in many ways. And I think it's why I related to them and love them so much as characters, was that like I could see myself in them. And the other part of why I love Kylo so much is because Darth Vader is my favorite Star Wars character. That's always been the thing. Kylo Ren is my favorite Star Wars character because Darth Vader is my favorite Star Wars character. So yeah, probably. I know we're stretching the Darth or Sith title here to Kylo and Jarek. But yeah, somewhere in there. I also could also skew a little Maul.
Raw anger.
Yeah, some of that, and also just like I refuse to take the L. Hence Alden, myself, and the other Scotties, very loud public trivia rivalries.
Yeah.
Of, they have beaten me and I will not accept it. So, cut to me just kind of like hopping with no legs towards them for another rematch.
Oh my God.
See, I think you can make an argument for a little bit of Maul there, but I think I would like to think that at my worst, I have like a Vader or a Kylo in me, but I would like to think that at my best, I have Anakin Skywalker and Ben Solo in me, if that makes sense. I would like to think that, I relate to them because I see the best of myself in their best and the worst of myself in their worst. But yeah, and that is because I'm not creative enough to come up with a bunch of Darth names.
I mean, in all honesty, like Darth or like dark side names are really just, they're mostly adjectives that have like a little something special at the end. So like, just think of some adjectives.
Yeah. Alden is Darth Egoist.
Literally, that's a Sith name now.
He's gonna watch this and motherfuck me, and it's gonna be so funny. Anyway, I think that's all we have for you guys. Scotty, again, where can the lovely people find you and what you do, my friend?
You can find me in all the fun things I do on YouTube, Twitter, X, Blue Sky, Threads, TikTok, Instagram, at Scotty Holiday SW. And I'm also on podcast. This is The Way Seekers every other Friday talking about Star Wars stuff. We're all Star Wars people. We're just going to continue to talk about it together. And it's great.
Until the heat death of the universe, we will be talking about Space Wizards.
Yeah, pretty much.
That is unavoidable. Yeah, well, I'm going to throw to future Jarod to take care of all the housekeeping stuff at the end here. So, yeah. And that is all. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It was a lovely conversation about one of my about an instant classic Star Wars novel. I absolutely loved it. Thank you again to Scotty. Check them out. Where all of their social media, their link tree will be in the episode notes for you to go ahead and follow them everywhere. Also, they have a new rule. I cannot have a pen around me because this is the pen that was inside of my book that disappears when I hold it up because it's a cute little Grogu notebook my girlfriend got me, and I decided I was going to start taking notes on pen and paper, and you guys literally can't see it because it is the perfect shade of green to blend in on the green screen, and it is so funny. I feel like I'm doing a magic trick right now. But my pen was still in the book, so I was fiddling with the pen the entire episode, and I've learned I can't have a pen near me because I'm just going to click it the whole fucking time. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Check out everything Scotty does. Check out This is the Way Seeker. Check out their stream. Check out their YouTube channel. All of that stuff. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram and Threads at Dark Jedi 2552. And you can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on our website, www.thenerdacademypodcast.com, where if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon.
Hey, give me $1.
Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus, Keandre Lloyd.
Colin Provolone. Sir.
So good.
Steal yourself, Colin! Steal yourself!
This is me stealing myself!
And to friend of the show, Elix Jones.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
And to $10 patron and alumnus, Ray Clausen, who asks you to donate to Equality Texas, the charity that is taking care of kids in the Lone Star State, protecting them from the draconian anti-queer laws down in Texas. So go ahead and donate to Equality Texas if you're able to. Like I said at the top of the show, not quite sure what next week is going to look like for the channel. So, you know, obviously keep your eyes peeled. Keep your eyes peeled. Keep your eyes peeled. Keep your ears open on our social media. Also, I keep forgetting to plug this, but I'm trying to get better about it. Y'all know we have merch, right? Click on that student store link.
T-shirts.public.com.
Get some of those shirts. Get a TNAP shirt. You'll look so fresh, so clean. My favorite one is the one that has the TNAP shield crest, like right here. That you can get that. It'll have that on the back. Well, it'll have the logo on the back, right? And then that shield crest right here in the middle. It'll have that, like kind of like a breast pocket type thing. with the full logo on the back. It looks so cool. And then like it's not the blue on blue version, it's the blue and orange version. It's my favorite shirt we have. If you guys make some commotion in the comments, if you guys will buy Cookie Cop merch, I will finally pull the trigger and get Cookie Cop merch made. That is my promise. That is my promise. If you know what, here's my, I'm going to make a deal. End of the episode deal. For those of you who make it all the way to the end, here's what's going to happen. If y'all help get this channel monetized by October, Cookie Cop merch. Cookie Cop merch will happen. Help push us over the finish line to monetization. Make Cookie Cop happen. We need watch time and we need the subs. You need to get the 500 subs. And I think we need like 1,000 more time and watch hours. So share this with your friends. Share the show. Let them know if they need a new connect for entertainment, news, and conversation to come to the Nerd Academy. Open enrollment, baby. But yeah, Patreon, $5 tier, Heroic History 101, Knights of the Nerd Republic Versus Series, $10 shout out, or $10 tier gets a shout out every episode. So come on over. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. My sales pitch is a hard pivot into just thank you guys. Thank you. We're honored that you have joined us. And may the force be with you always.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar!